go. Okay, welcome everyone to Action and Inertia, research podcast where each week we invite our guests to share their unique and valuable responses about human behavior in response to change. I am your host, Kimberly Logan, and today I am so pleased and honored to have with us Deidre Richardson. Welcome, Deidre. Could you introduce yourself and let us know what you're passionate about and where your subject matter expertise lies?
Hi, I am happy to be here first off. I am Deidre Richardson. I would describe my passion as just for living and just life and seeing what's possible and learning and discovering who I am, which is also, I would make myself my own subject matter expert. I feel like I am something that continues to, like all of us, grow, evolve, and develop. And yeah, I'm loving the process of learning who I am and yeah, seeing what's to come.
Great. So excited to have you with us. So just to recap for the audience, the goal of this research podcast is twofold. The first goal is to inspire at least one person to take a more active approach to change, to lean more actively into change. Our second goal is to gather information, right? To create a database that of human experience and of these opinions from our guests that can be used as a reference tool for folks experiencing and navigating change. So each week we ask each of our guests the same 3 questions. And without further ado, Deidre, question number 1. In the face of change, right, what motivates a person to action or inertia?
I think that there has to be a desire for someone to want to move forward and to see what's possible. I think a lot of times we all go through stumbling blocks, we all go through dark spaces in life, but I think the key is not to get stuck there. And sometimes people have enough foresight to understand the short-sightedness of challenges and dark moments in their lives. And I think you really just have to want to move forward, A, and B, you just kind of have to be a little resilient and have faith that that's not going to last a long time and that there's joy, there's hope, there's greener pastures on the other side of difficult, but also difficult is just a phase, it's growth, and it's going to lead you and propel you on to do bigger and better things in your life.
I love that, thank you. So our second question is, which choice, as in choosing action or choosing inertia, which choice is most beneficial to holistic wellness, to looking at the system, your life as a whole system, and which choice benefits that the most?
For me personally, I would choose my attention to just my physical health and wellness. I think that has many positive symptoms once you start addressing your health and really viewing your body as a machine and as a system. I like how you introduced that because, yeah, it just builds so much stamina that you'll need to achieve and overcome and do whatever you're planning to do in life. It'll create with you a better sense of confidence in order to kind of break the door down and assert yourself and walk into certain spaces in a confident way. And I just think it's a respect and a discipline relationship too. I think that anything we engage in life, there needs to be a degree of discipline. We don't want to do the majority of things we do in a day, like, to be quite honest, but I feel like discipline starts with yourself. It's how you treat yourself, how you care for yourself. And I feel like when you enter a room, I think it's very clear to see people who are diligent about their health, or they're diligent about their wellness, they're diligent about all of that, because they have this certain approach in how they show up in life. And I would say that would be, yeah, that's my number one thing and I feel like that's why I'm constantly trying to eat better, trying to try new workouts, trying to do all of this, because this has like such a ripple effect overall in your life. And you want to keep your mind active because, the older we get, the more important it is. So I think we set all these ambitious and lofty goals, but like you want to be there in a healthy state to attain them. So I think it's important.
Yeah, I love that idea of, being present to your wellness today, being present to your physical wellness today, and how that lends itself to everything else that you dream and inspire to do in the future, right? Like making that connection. So I hear you kind of saying that action kind of is what you view as the most beneficial approach, and then from your personal perspective, leading with action around the physical, action around like being present about physical wellness, just leading with that. Is that?
Absolutely. I think that there are very few variables in life we can control, but for the most part, like I can control what I put in my mouth, the amount of physical activity I get in a day. I can't control certain variables out in society and the environment, but I feel like if I start here, it allows me to receive and understand and deal with what's going on externally to me. And I'm not constantly in a state of flux or chaos. And like, I feel like I have fewer moments in which I'm spiraling when I see something on the news or in society, because it's just like, this keeps me centered and I actively work at that. So doing whatever it takes to do that, whether it's meditating, whether it's reading at night, whether it's running on the treadmill, lifting weights, like all of that works in tandem in order to like keep me whole and centered and a sense of groundedness at the end of the day.
Oh, great. I love that. And that's such a good lead into our third and final question, which is what traits exist in people who consistently choose action? And as I'm listening to you, I'm hearing discipline, I'm hearing like attention to being grounded, right? Like attention to kind of like the present moment as a setup for what's to come. So let me know if those are correct that I'm hearing, and then if you want to add anything else.
Yeah, I think those are definitely correct. I would definitely keep those words in my toolkit for this topic. And I think in addition, I would add just resilience and accountability. I think resilience speaks to me because oftentimes, like you look out in the media or you identify role models that are like external, and whether you're familiar with these people's lives or not, it looks great. Like we see the highlight reel of their lives, but like a lot of people have been through some very tragic, like heart-wrenching situations and moments in their lives. And, we saw none of that. We just saw the after effects of it and how they took that and manifested it into something bigger. And so I think like resilience, because I think the key is not necessarily how talented or how intelligent, like you just got to keep going. Like at the end of the day, I think it's just that. I think we've all been counted out in certain circles in certain instances. And yeah, you kind of like, as you do your inventory and assessment, like looking back at your life, sometimes I'm like, wow, that person was like propped up and put in positions to be here, but they're not. That person was propped up to be here. Or like, hey, I came from none of those same situations as them. And somehow I am like, yeah, they're my peers now. And I think the key is just to keep going. Don't be afraid to, I don't want to say, like, give yourself time to decompress, to lament over things, but you have to be resilient and kind of spring back. You have to have a tough skin for the world, because I think those who are successful, like they just keep trying things. Like that's it. Like that's the key. I don't think there is a right or a wrong. I think they're just out here experiencing life and trying different avenues.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think, I love that and connect with that because a lot of the reason behind why I wanted to do this podcast and wanted to do this research is recognizing how kind of like I guess the duality of how we are all existing as human beings. We're all having these like very shared human experiences, I guess, right? So we're having these shared human experiences, like you kind of pointed to, where everyone, no matter what the exact circumstances, has fallen down, has failed, has, had some heartbreak, has kind of like gone through all of these different things. And generally, right, all of those things are connected to changes, whether you are actively seeking them or whether you are responding to the changes that are happening, right? So we're having these shared human experiences, and it's really interesting because though the experience is shared, the kind of details of it are different. So I find that we don't often even connect in conversation about just like that experience, because as you're like sharing with a friend or your family member or your colleague, right, you're sharing the details of a specific circumstance, but the conversation doesn't usually land on, wow, like, that kind of like empathetic layer where that person may understand you because they have a similar experience, right? And that's just like human nature and giving attention and conversation. But I love that. And I love that this is how we're ending this episode, because that is a huge, right? That's that second goal of creating that database, creating that kind of place where people experiencing change can all arrive and have this like toolkit where they can say, oh, wow, like here are all these different folks, they have different passions and expertise, but we're all here trying to navigate kind of together, like basically, like how are we gonna keep going? Resilience, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing those insights. I'm sorry, were you gonna...
I would add to that as we wrap up that just embracing change is important too. Like, I think that for me personally, I grew up with a lot of adults around me who resisted change. It kind of broke them in certain ways because their life was planned to be like this. They laid out the blueprint. And so anything that came along the way that disrupted that plan, it was detrimental. It was a bigger ordeal than maybe it needed to be, because I think that people sometimes are just so resistant to change, or you really think that you are in full control of your life. And I'm someone who thinks I think I have control maybe of about 25 to 40% on any given day. And then the rest of it's just like, as you said, like we're out here coexisting with a whole society of other people. Like, yeah, I get impact from that too. So like, I can't anticipate all of that, but I can learn to embrace change. And I can, so I don't get derailed, learn to just take things as they arise and understand that there's a lesson here and ease through that. It's not always comfortable. It actually isn't at all, but like, I just think anticipating that change is something that will always be on the horizon gives me peace, opposed to like, oh, things are going well, like, I'm on this trajectory and things are going to keep going well, and then tomorrow someone hits my car and it like derails my no, like a lot of these variables are just life. And like, you have to just embrace change and just realize like there's greater, greener pastures. There's a lesson after this, and every storm has a rainbow and sunshine that comes afterwards, and sometimes that's
a storm and then another rainbow.
Yeah, exactly. But like, we're just here to experience life. I'm not here to predict an outcome for my life necessarily, but I'm here to experience it and go through the journey and add my own variables to like make my journey like my flavor. But like, I think that other things above me, God, my ancestors, people who have been praying for me, they're also adding variables there. So like, you got to be careful not to disrupt other people's blessings for you sometimes. So just like, kind of just have a grace and ease through which you move through change in your life, because you just never know what's out there.
So many gems. Thank you so much. I think this has been a really great conversation. I'm so appreciative of your time and your intellect and just you being willing to share. So thank you for being here. Thanks again to everyone watching and listening for being here. If you enjoyed this episode and you would like to support this research, please share this episode with others, post about it on social media, send us an email at actioninertia@gmail.com, or leave a rating or review. Support us in any way you can, and come back and watch the next episode. So until next time, thank you everyone for being here. Have a wonderful day.